for tuning in today, and thanks so much to the Demuth Museum for pulling this together and highlighting some of us artists here in the Lancaster area. I'm going to give you a tour of, I have a couple different studio spaces. I'm sitting right now in my home studio, and just going to kind of give you an introduction, and then I have a couple little videos of my studio out in Ephrata, in Clay Township, and also to maybe my plein air painting outside setup. So again, my name is Beth Bathe, and I've lived here for about 8 years in Lancaster. We moved from the Northern Virginia area. I was a graphic designer for 30 years, and when my partner Bill retired from the federal government, we moved up to Lancaster, and I stopped my graphic design business and decided to paint full time. I would consider myself a professional plein air painter. Plein air painting is painting outside on location, usually painting at one time, one alla prima, one setting, 2 to 3, 5, 6 hours at a time. I travel all over the country and do plein air competitions. Last year, I think I participated in 11 competitions all over, anywhere from Washington State to Maine. So I do a lot of traveling. I think I was on the road for 4 or 5 months last year. Do a lot of driving. So studio painting is kind of secondary to me, although figurative work is, I really love. So let's sort of jump forward to 2020, and I'm supposed to be in major plein air season right now and on the road, but with the pandemic, we're now all sheltered in home. So at my studio out in Ephrata, when I am at home, I usually host twice a month a long figurative session where I'll hire a model and artists come and we paint for 5 hours together with one long pose. And now that the studio is closed and you can't gather, we have started a online version, a virtual version, and this is every Friday. So every Friday we post photos of photo shoots that my partner Bill had shot through his vast years collection of past photo shoots of beautiful models in different setups, different themes. We've got Renaissance dresses, ballerinas. We've had a Greek goddess. We had a 40s girl pinup. It's really fun, and we've had artists now participate from all over the world. We've had one from France and Canada. Last week we had, I think, 75 artists sign up. So basically what happens is they'll download, Bill and I will post about 15 different photos, from the same photo shoot, different poses, and then the artist will pick. And so it's really fun. And if any artists are watching out there and you want to participate, check out Short Dog Studio on Facebook. It's not a live event, it's just an event, and so you just can download the photos and paint. But then the artists will post to the event, and it's just really fun to see what everybody does during the week. So most of the paintings back here, for instance, have been painted for those events. Here's a ballerina, and here's I call this the lady in red. So these are my figurative pieces. I will in the video I will intersperse some of my plein air pieces too. So I guess we'll just get started, and I will videotape some of my different spaces and give you a little close-up view of this room, and we'll take it from there. This is my home studio. We live in an 1891 Victorian home in Lancaster City, and this works just fine for me for small paintings. I prefer to paint on ampersand gesso boards. They're masonite boards, which I then gesso myself with 1 or 2 coats of gesso. And so I've got boards here. Here's a stack of paintings everywhere. I use Cobra water-soluble oil paints. They're made by Royal Talons, and it's the same company that makes Rembrandt oil paints. Like I said, they're artist grade, same pigments as Rembrandt's. But you could use water. So these are Cobras, and they're great for plein air. Have a north window, which is wonderful. Again, tons of paintings. I have a large TV monitor here that I could hook up to a computer or to iPad or a phone to use to reference or to paint by. And right now I've got my website up, which shows these are a lot of my plein air paintings. Again, if you're interested, BethBathe.com. Anyway, and it's hooked up to my iPad. I have a roller cart here with a palette and paints. Because I use water-soluble oil paints, I use synthetic watercolor brushes, and actually those need to be cleaned. But I also paint a lot with squeegees, and I'm a reductive painter. I sort of take away with the paint, and this is a rubber squeegee, a brass squeegee, house squeegee, and then I cut the blades and I make little squeegees. So the palette, and then here are racks of more paintings. One of a easel here, a tripod, and a couple different other kind of easels. Again, a lot more paintings in the works, or painted. Most of these paintings have been done through the virtual Fridays, and I'll talk about those in just a minute. This painting actually called The Hunt, and it's in a virtual show right now, the Yellow Springs Spring Art Show. And this painting is actually on an online show in the Demuth for sort of artwork during the pandemic, and it's called Red Shoes. And again, a whole other paintings. This is a great kind of rack paintings on the go. And so yeah, that's the room. Oh, and I also have a wonderful sort of color correct light here. So this is my small at-home studio. Down in the basement I have racks of frames, and I'll do a still photo of that, and an area where I prepare panels. Okie doke. So our next video, portion video, I'm going to show you Short Dog Studio, which is out in Ephrata, and it's about a 20-minute drive from here. It's a gorgeous big space, and so I'll tell you all about it there. Okay, welcome to Short Dog Studio. We are in a 1740 old grist mill, and we have the whole second floor. And we're located in Ephrata, actually Clay Township. So here we are. And so I share my space with my partner Bill Taylor, and he's a photographer. So I'm really lucky. I've got all sorts of lighting and backdrops and all kinds of goodies. We'll go here to the right first. On my way out here, I stopped and picked up a gorgeous floral arrangement from a local Amish farm. The peonies are just exquisite here, so I think I'll set up and do a still life either later today. But as you can see, I've got Bill's great lighting and backdrops and different floors, and it's awesome. And then come around here. This is our little kitchen area, which is great fun. So we have a table and fridge and coffee for everybody, so it's really fun. We host Friday afternoon sessions for artists, and I hire a model, and it's for 5 hours, and it's one long pose. And the very last pose we had, and I actually will stitch this into the video, was on a bed here. It's kind of homage to Sorolla with the pink satin. But the artists have a 360-degree view of the models, and I've got all the easels and tabourets and whatever. So this bed isn't always there. We set up different things for every pose. So as you can see, we've got backdrop there with, you know, kind of drapes, and it's really a fun space. So all of these drapes here, you know, come down. So the space is really versatile. Okay, I paint kind of wherever in here. I don't have a designated spot. I just kind of go to where the light is or what I'm painting at the time. But here's one of my paintings I did from the model sessions, and that's a little plein air piece. And there's a taboret. Actually, my palette's not here. I took it home. Other paintings. It's wonderful. We've got these big old deep windows, and they're north facing, so it's really gorgeous. We're having a major thunderstorm right now, so it's kind of dark in here. Here's our little lounge area, which is awesome. Hang out here, nap time, hang out with other artists. So it's really fun. And here's two plein air pieces of mine. This one's from Virginia, and this is actually in the Adirondacks. Got Ella here. She's a model of ours. Actually, she's great for, you know, putting in sets and trying different lighting out and whatever. So this is Short Dog Studio. It's pretty darn cool. We really love it, and like I said, it never ever always looks like this. We move it around. Unfortunately, we haven't been out here a lot since the pandemic. You know, I can't have classes or workshops out here, so we're really hoping that in the next couple of weeks that we could start that back up. Okay, I'm going to oh, here's our little entrance area. All right, I'm going to stop this now, and then I'm going to show you our back room. Hey, everybody needs a back room. Like I said, my partner Bill's a photographer, and he does a lot of really cool portraiture, classic portraiture, Hollywood glam, pinup stuff. So we've got all sorts of fancy dresses, and here's some ballerina costumes. We did a ballerina pose not long ago for the artists. And what else do we have here? Oh, here's a flapper's dress and all kinds of goodies, hats and umbrellas. Again, we've got all different kinds of scarves and backdrops and cloths, and it's just great. And here's all of Bill's camera equipment and lighting and for building sets, and we've got all sorts of flowers, and I've got a bunch of canvases here. And so this is the back room. It's always really nice to have a room where you could store all your goodies. Like I said, we're on the second floor. We've got these nested model stands, which are really great. They're these cubes that we could pull out and bring in and lift the model up off the floor. It's great. We have a little freight elevator here. And again, here's the front door. So this is Short Dog, and so glad that you guys could take a look. Oh, I forgot to show you. Here's some of Bill's photography, which is, they're just awesome. And actually for our virtual Short Dog sessions, and I'll talk more about that later, we've been using a lot of these photo shoots for the artist to paint from. So it's really been a great resource. Thanks, guys. So that was Short Dog Studio, and I love showing you the space there. Some of the still photos were from sessions out there or our virtual sessions. And the last video clip was actually our last live session before we had to close down because of the pandemic, and that was on March 6th. And as you can see, the artists have such a good time, and we really just can't wait to get back into the space. So my next studio that I'm going to be talking about is actually not a brick and mortar studio at all, but I'm actually going to show you some small video clips and a lot of stills of my plein air painting. I guess the studio part would actually be two vehicles, my Honda CR-V. I travel all over the country, and it's great. You just lift the hatch back up. The car is always packed, ready to paint. I have a painting kit, easels, paints, umbrellas, water, food, you name it. It's a moving studio. A lot of times when I'm going to events, we also have to take all our framing. So I can have the car packed from the front seat to the back. Frames, panels, paintings, you name it. So it's really, we sometimes consider ourselves carnies because we're just always on the go. So that's the plein air CR-V, my Honda. And another vehicle we have is we have a large 35-foot mobile motorhome motor coach, and we travel around. A lot of times in the winter we'll go south and stay in South Carolina, or we'll go to Florida. We've taken it out all the way to the west, California, Colorado, and we'll stay for weeks on time, and I get to paint out there. So that's a lot of fun. And I also wanted to explain, you guys are probably thinking, why is our studio on an effort called Short Dog Studio? And it's because we have 3 Cardigan Welsh Corgis, and they sort of travel wherever we go. So the studio on Ephrata we call Short Dog Studio, and we call our RV the dog house, and actually when we tow our car behind, we call that the pup tent. So the 3 Corgis go along with us just about wherever we go. So I guess I'm just gonna get started. I'll have a little video clip of me actually doing a little demo painting out in my backyard just a week or so ago, a blooming dogwood tree. I also have a clip painting in Sedona, and some pictures of me painting out of the back of the car, and all kinds of weather. We paint rain or shine, wind, heat. Sometimes the plein air festivals, you just gotta paint. And I sometimes will paint as many as 2 and 3 paintings a day. And then sometimes as many as 13 to 20 paintings in a 5 to 6 day period. These plein air competitions are all over the country, and they're really fun. It's a great way to travel to a new city or new place. Usually it's about 30 to 50 artists who come in from all over. We're juried in, or you're invited, and we paint all week. And there's social gatherings and dinners, and you really get to know the community. And it's so nice for the community to see how the artists paint their area. And then at the end of the week, usually there's a show. So there's either a local gallery or museum will have a show, and the paintings are judged, and there's awards, and they're usually all for sale. So it's a great venue for people and local communities to see artwork, buy artwork, and we really miss it this year. A lot of the events and competitions have either been canceled or postponed to 2021. So anyway, if you see any of those events locally, they're just super fun. So let's get started, and I'm going to show you some clips of plein air painting and some of my paintings. And I want to thank the Demuth Museum so much for this opportunity. I really, as just a local citizen, has really enjoyed watching some of the other artists in their studios. It's a great way to see where we are and what we do, and hopefully make us more approachable. And so after this clip, these couple clips, I'll be available for questions and answers, and I really hope to meet some of you soon, and hope to see you out at Short Dog Studio or virtually out at Short Dog, and have a great summer. Thank you, guys. I am going to paint this beautiful dogwood blossoms. They're just so gorgeous on a small 6x8 panel. And here's my palette all set up, and we're gonna give it a go. So anyway, I'll check in later when I get started and let you see the work. So here I am getting started, and I use water-soluble oils, so I get kind of this mix of raw umber and blue, ultramarine blue, and I'm just kind of putting in some of my values here. Some paper towel. So this will be where the 3 main flowers go. This is going to be kind of a background here. Okay, check in again. Okay, and a little more, getting sort of the big shapes of the flowers. Having a heck of a time with the breeze getting these flowers to stay still. Anyway, I'll keep plugging. Hey guys, and the finished painting, it's been quite a bear. The sun's now gone down, and as you can see, I've had a heck of a time with the wind, but I think it turned out pretty good. Plein air painting, kids. Doesn't always stand still. Anyway, let me do another close up. And it's a wrap. Good morning from beautiful Sedona. Look at my view. Look at the balloons. Oh my gosh, you guys. Doesn't get better than this. Gotta paint. Good morning from St. Michael's, Maryland. Here they are setting up to do an instructional video of me doing a demo here today as part of the Plein Air Easton Art Festival. Pretty cool, look at me. Maybe I'll win an Emmy. Here we go. I'm all mic'd up and getting ready.
Okay, so we'll move on then to the question and answer session. If you would like to put your questions into the chat, like I said, just the little like speech bubble up at the top right of the screen. If you want to type in your questions. And just to get us started, I'll start with one. The studio setup that you have, like
Yeah.
with the props and the clothes,
Yes.
I was kind of curious about like just your process of deciding what props you want to use and how you want to set things up. Like, do you have themes or just kind of play around?
Um, we actually have a lot of themes. Uh, we'll sometimes what I'll try to do is have maybe a nude one week, and then the next, time we'll have something like a film noir kind of setup and set up the lighting. We'll set up something. We've done Flaming June, and we've done Botticelli and Vermeer setups, and done lighting more like the Renaissance. And like I said, we've done Greek goddesses. We've had Game of Thrones guys. We did a Gettysburg. Um, uh, Union soldier. It's really cool, and the artists enjoy it.
Mhm.
And a lot of it what's really great is, since Bill likes to shoot that kind of stuff, very often we will hire the model for 2 days. And the first day, what we'll do is we'll do a photo shoot and do a bunch of different sessions, and then that will sort of help me figure out what I want to do for the Friday session. Of course, my setup has to be a 360, and my lighting is different, but it's a lot of fun. Bill and I both, we collaborate really well together.
Okay, and I think we got one in the chat. Do you want to look at them yourself, Beth, or do you want me to like read them to you?
Where is the chat? Oh, the chat. Here we go. Do I use the water soluble question? The main reason I use the water soluble paints is two reasons. One is for the effect. I use them really washy, so I use a lot of water. That's all the drips. So it almost looks like a watercolor effect, and it really doesn't work as well with Gamsol or Turpenoid. It doesn't have the same effect. That stuff dries too fast and it leaves kind of an aura, and also that would be a lot of chemicals using that much Gamsol. And then out in the field for plein air, it's fantastic for the environment because when I'm done, I could just toss the water. It's just pigment and water and linseed oil, so it's not any kind of chemical. But it's mainly the effect. Do I need to varnish them? I do. If the painting stays with me, I do varnish. But a lot of times at the plein air competitions, they go. I mean, they're wet. I paint. They go in a frame. They get sold. They're gone. I haven't had any problems with anybody saying there's a problem of them flaking off or whatever. They seem to be just fine. But usually I will put a varnish. Once it sets up, if I get a chance, I'll do like a retouch varnish. Do I have a favorite spot in Lancaster? I drove around Lancaster last Sunday, and I was in the car for 3 hours trying to pick the spot. And it's really hard to plein air paint in Lancaster because there's nowhere to pull off. So many of the farms and the fields will have these little like drainage ditches right off the road, so you can't pull off. So it's difficult. I've got a couple places out near me in Clay. There's 2 covered bridges. It's called Middle Creek Road. It's a beautiful road, and there's a lot of gorgeous things there. And I also like Landis Valley Museum. It's great. Old split rail fences, and the docents are dressed up in historical garb, so that's really nice. Are there any other questions? And Guys, I really haven't even been outside yet to paint much. I need to get out there and start painting. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have another one for you, Beth. Do you have a favorite place outside of Lancaster? Like, is there a place that is like your absolute favorite that you've ever done a plein air painting at?
Oh my gosh. I guess I'd have to say probably my favorite place is southwestern Virginia. There's 3 places there, Abington, Virginia, Stanton, and Bath County. My family is from that area. My mom was born in a coal mining town in Appalachia, so I just really feel a sense of connection. I also grew up in Virginia, so it has a really special place in my heart. But the rolling hills down there and the way the light is on the hills is just fantastic. So I just love that. And probably the second place I love to paint is the Adirondacks. It's just so peaceful and beautiful. And then third is any old Victorian town. I just love Victorian architecture, old buildings. So yeah, just anywhere in Lancaster I love. Brattleboro, Greg, just beautiful towns. There's a little town in Vermont called Grafton, which I just adore. And a lot of times what you'll see is when you look at my paintings, I really try to kind of show a sense of nostalgia. I don't want you to think it's present day. I don't usually put modern cars or modern people in my paintings because I love to watch when I'm in a show, to watch people walk by my paintings and they'll say, that looks like grandma's house, or I remember back in when, you know, that looks like Brattleboro back in the day, or so I really want it to have like a stop sense of time. So I would, you know, timeless. How many paintings would I average in a week, month, or year? Oh, Lord. Well, when I did my taxes this past year, I sold 59 paintings in plein air competitions. So that was the sold paintings. So gosh, I would say maybe I paint 200, 300 paintings maybe a year. A lot. A lot. They're all over the place. But sometimes I'm really lucky. I mean, sometimes I'll go to an event and I'll paint, you know, 10, 12, 15 paintings and I'll sell 10, 11, 12. That's really great. I mean, sometimes I'll sell 1 or 2. But I'm really lucky, knock on wood. I don't think I've been to an event where I didn't sell at least 1 painting. Who has influenced my work? I would say the biggest influence of my work, and I call him like my shaman that sits on my shoulder, is Andrew Wyeth. Andrew Wyeth was a regional painter. He painted of his place and time. He never traveled. He never painted in France. He never painted anywhere. He painted in Chatsford and he painted in Maine. And so I really feel, even though I go around to different places, I feel I paint of that place and that time while I'm there. Also to his paintings, I consider myself a tonalist. I don't paint with a lot of color. And Andrew Wyeth was too. He painted kind of, you know, minimal tonalist palette. And yeah, Andrew Wyeth, definitely.
Okay, if anybody has any other questions, we'll wait just a few seconds. Oh, there's one, I think.
Does the moment just take over that you must paint? Has there been a time when you couldn't paint? Oh yeah. A lot of times, especially if I'm in an event and I have to be painting, I'm on the clock. I really like the pressure because I know I have to pick something to paint. Where if I'm sort of on my own clock, I could just sort of dilly-dally around and keep waiting for that thing to strike me. I find I'm a big procrastinator. I can procrastinate, but once I start to paint, I'm in love with painting. But sometimes it's just that getting started. There are times when I just want to paint, paint, paint. It's like every day, can't wait. And then I'll go through periods of, I just need to sit in a chair and watch TV for 3 days. I think sometimes that's mental recharge. I just think sometimes you have to, any kind of artist or creative or whatever, you need to sort of restock. Sometimes I find, if I'm painting all day, that I will have to either turn on like Netflix or something for half an hour to turn that brain off, because then I will lay in bed and I'll paint in my head for hours, and because once you get going, it's kind of hard. What advice would you give to an artist new to plein air painting? Just do it. Don't be afraid. You could find a place all by yourself. You don't have to paint out in the middle of the city. I think a lot of times people are intimidated by the tools, and it takes a while to figure out how you want to paint outside. I went through a bunch of different kind of easel setups before I figured out the one that was best for me. But be simple. I would say don't take, if you're used to painting with 50 colors in the studio, try to pare it down. You can paint with yellow, red, and blue, and you're good to go. And I think what you need to do is carry yourself either like a viewfinder, or cut a little hole out of a box, or bring a mat from a frame or a frame. And as you're looking around, the site, look through this frame, because I think a lot of times what happens with a plein air painter, you're just so overwhelmed by the whole world around you that it's hard to sort of focus in. And so look through the frame at a site, and another thing too is if you are driving or you find a place and you think, oh, the light looks so gorgeous, stop and paint then, because you'll come back the next day and you'll think, what was I it looks different. So you need to just do it. And how do you get on the list for your live studio sessions? Usually what happens is I don't have a list, is I will post an event, and it's usually a week before for the live. And I've gotten so I start saying it'll be like Thursday at 9 o'clock, and then it's the first 10, 12 people who sign up. They get the spot. Unfortunately, it's gotten really, really popular, and a lot of times people don't get in. So we'll have to see. Once we start back up, we're actually going to probably have to start less artists, because we can't be shoulder to shoulder. So I don't know exactly how to do it. We might be having to do multiple sessions, like a Thursday and a Friday, just to accommodate all the artists. Because it used to be, Carrie, it wasn't even that popular. There were 2 or 3 people would sign up, so I never had a waiting list. But now it's really popular. So we'll have to see. And again, the virtual one that we do, sign up. On Thursday nights at 9 o'clock on Facebook, on Short Dog Studio, I will post the event, and there will usually be 15 paintings, 15 photos, and you guys just do it. It's really fun.
All right, I think if there aren't any more questions, I just wanted to thank you, Beth, for
welcome
us through your studio. And I wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. And on the way out, I'm going to post some links, like to Beth's website and her Instagram and her Facebook, if you'd like to follow her or check out her website. Just take a look at those before you leave then today.
Bye, guys, and thanks to the Demuth Museum. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.